It's time for more yellow tea, and this time we're going to Mengding. Hey everyone, I'm Sigi, and I love all things poor. Today, however, we are once again talking about my second big love in the world of tea, and that is yellow tea. The last time we went and looked at the new batch of Mengding Huang Ya, but today I have a slightly different kind of comparison. We're not doing two batches of the same tea, but we are doing two batches of tea from the same region and from the same producer. So most likely produced in very similar or the same way, but there is one difference. I have here with me some Mengding Huang Cha, as we all know and love it. And here I have something very special. Mengding Huang Ya. Sorry, I actually got them confused. This one is the Mengding Huang Cha, the older batch. As we can see here, like these are fairly normal leaves. If I remember correctly, the picking on this is 2 leaves, 1 bud. And this is what we have here. And this one is the new one, Mengding Huang Ya. Note the difference here between Cha and Ya. We have the Cha with the 2 leaves, 1 bud, and this one, the Mengding Huang Ya, is all buds. So not just do we have a new batch of tea here that I'm going to start steeping right away, we also have a different picking. So in this video, we're essentially going to try to answer 2 questions. First, what's the new batch like? And second, how do the characteristics of this tea change when we remove all the leaves and only leave the buds? Okay, first steep is going in. I already noticed a slight difference on the dry smell. Like this Mengding Huang Cha always has a slight honey smell to me on the dry leaf, whereas this Huang Ya presented itself in a somewhat brighter and fruitier way. Okay, I don't want to keep this first steep too long. I'm just doing my usual 3 grams for 100 milliliter for yellow tea, 85 degree centigrade water, and then I wait for however long feels appropriate. So I think I'm going to decant the first steep now. Wait just a moment between these two to account for the time it takes to pour. Ooh, okay. And right off the bat, I think we can see a rather significant difference here. Let me show this to the camera. So here we have the Mengding Huang Cha, which is quite yellow, whereas this one, the Mengding Huang Ya, the buds only, feels... It's hard to say, but it's very bright. It has maybe like a slight green tinge to it, but definitely no strong coloration like on the Mengding Huang Cha. Okay, with the smell, I'm going to start with the tea I'm already intimately familiar with. The Mengding Huang Cha is another one of those teas that I like to drink for comfort. Yeah. So still that kind of honey smell, a bit floral maybe. Very nice, very round and mellow. That's the kind of thing I'm used to from yellow tea. Let's see how the Mengding Huang Ya compares with its buds. Already, before even like bringing this close to my nose, the fragrance on this is stronger. I can already kind of smell it just from here. Oh. Okay, that's kind of unexpected. This one has more of a kind of chocolatey note. A bit more vegetal for sure than the other one. But then also some really nice kind of fruity and maybe slightly spicy aromas underneath. So just in terms of like aromatic complexity, let me smell this again. This one is significantly more complex, but also a fair bit brighter. This one is slightly darker, mellower, also has a very pleasant aroma, but already we're noticing, both in the color of the liquor and in the smell of these teas, a rather significant difference. Okay, let's pour these in and kind of go from there. Okay. I'm having a tough time deciding which one I want to start with, because I expect this bud heavy tea to be the more delicate one, but at the same time I kind of want to start with the one I'm more familiar with too, because that one has more like flavor memories associated. And I want to invoke those before moving on to something new. Yeah, there's that honey aroma again. Also kind of vegetal in the taste, but not in like a green sort of way. No green flavor, but rather just I'd say maybe that's a bit more in the direction of something like zucchini. That's the closest I can think of. And of course there's that kind of yellow tea flavor that's so elusive to describe, but the thing that kind of makes yellow tea what it is, and that makes it so comfortable. Okay, now let's see what this Mengding Huang Ya has to offer. As expected, much more delicate. A bit sweeter overall, maybe. Also, this one is vegetal as well, but I'd say it is more in that green direction than the other one. So there's that like bit of umami to it. Yeah, this one feels like it's closer to a green tea in taste than the Mengding Huang Cha. But even in this one, despite its sort of initial appearance of greenness, we also get that yellow tea character. So even if this is a bud-only picking and a very sort of delicate and fragrant tea, we still get the things that at least I want from yellow tea. This sort of certain level of comfort. Okay, now second half of the first steep, the teas have had a bit more time to cool down. And while I decant these, I'm already gonna prepare the second steep. There's a thing we like to say in my local tea group, and that is, we are not here for fun. After all, tea is rather serious business, isn't it? Okay. So we've got both of these going in again. We've got our two steeps prepared here. This time, I'm going to start with the Mengding Huang Ya, so it doesn't run a risk of getting overpowered by the stronger or more robust kind of tea. Oh, okay. Now that it's cooled down a bit, I'm getting more of that kind of chocolatey or nutty impression again. But it's really gentle in this one compared to some of the other yellow teas. In this one, I'd say like that sort of vegetal and these higher fragrances are at the forefront, and the kind of chocolate flavor is just a maybe underlying note. Overall, it strikes a really interesting balance though, and all of these flavors are playing together in a very interesting way. So good. Okay. Time to decant the second steep. This one, as you might have noticed, is going to be a bit stronger already. Now, with teas like Mengding Huang Cha, I've noticed that they are quite resistant to oversteeping. And with the Mengding Huang Ya being closer to a green tea, albeit still like recognizable as a yellow tea, of course. Let's see if it also holds up to some stronger steeping. So I still have the taste of the first steep here in the mouth. So I'm going to continue with the with the Mengding Huang Ya, and see how it changes on this second steep, this significantly stronger steep. Strong aroma, a little bit of astringency to it. But still like very fragrant tea, really full mouthfeel on this steep, which is kind of surprising because bud-only teas, in my experience, tend to be a bit thinner in terms of texture, but this one is showing up nicely. The chocolatey flavor has moved more towards a maybe an almond with like the skin still on, that kind of thing, because we do get that sort of nut skin bitterness a little bit. But all in all, like the levels of fragrance on this steep are just very intense. Wow. Fascinating. Very fascinating. Let's compare this to the Mengding Huang Cha. One thing I am noticing, like the honey note that I'm getting in this tea is not present at all in the Mengding Huang Ya. Also, I'd say this does have a bit more viscosity, all things considered. Whew. Oh, I should probably mention the prices on these teas. Both of these are still available on the nannuoshan shop. The Mengding Huang Cha, I think, is the most affordable yellow tea and provides a wonderful entry point into the category at €8 for 20 grams. This Mengding Huang Ya, with its different picking, is something much more extraordinary. And as such, the price on this one is €21 for 20 grams. However, as we are noticing, like in this tea, a lot of different things are coming together, right? We have the usual kind of characteristics we'd expect from a yellow tea, the sort of comforting feel, the slightly mellower fragrances that are present. But then we also have a lot more going on. Like, in addition to those, we also have some of the high aromatics of a green tea. And we have a bud-only tea that still retains a very strong mouthfeel and texture. It's the Mengding Huang Ya is a significantly more complex experience that I'd say demands a lot more attention than your average yellow tea. Obviously, like, you can focus on all yellow teas and still get a lot out of it, but I think this one is a tea that really benefits from like sitting down, focusing completely on the tea and finding all the different aspects that come together and end up creating this kind of harmony. Mhm. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, the sweetness of this tea also just like lingers on your palate for such a long time. And you're kind of reminded of it every time you breathe out. Really, really amazing. Meanwhile, this tea provides its overall very comforting bouquet of aromas, especially that kind of honey fragrance that it has. It's just so pleasant and comforting to drink. And it honestly fascinates me that this quality of comfort still carries over to a otherwise somewhat louder tea, if you want to put it that way. As this, oh my god, I forgot to fill this. Okay, so um, I'm gonna do that now, and I'm gonna let that sit for a good while. Meanwhile, I can already decant this one. So for the final steep, I guess we're gonna start with the Mengding Huang Cha again. This one needs a moment, and we'll give it the moment it needs and deserves. But yeah, what can we say about these teas? So this one, typical yellow tea, Mengding Huang Cha, very comforting, pleasant honey fragrance, good mouthfeel. Those are kind of the big points I'd highlight about that one. It feels good. It makes me happy when I drink it, and that I think is really important. Mengding Huang Ya. It's complex. It demands more focus. It's less of a comfort tea than this one, I'd say, but it still has these comforting aspects that can be found in other yellow teas. But then it just takes those and it builds several different layers on top of them. And that's, I think, what makes this tea stand out, right? Like this, as much as I love it, this is another one of my favorite teas, is a relatively simple and uncomplicated affair, if you want to say it like that. Whereas this one is complex. This one takes a bit of work from the drinker. It is still very easy to appreciate, though. Like, it tastes good. It has a lot of pleasant flavors. It's got a nice mouthfeel. but it has so many points in there that make you want to pay more attention to it. And if you really want to sit down and focus on a tea and do nothing else in the meantime, I think this is a wonderful choice. And I think the comparison between these two is great because effectively, like, so many things about those two are the same. And as both of these teas, I don't really want to say age because it's not really sure whether these teas really age, but as both of these are stored for longer, they might also approximate each other more in terms of flavor. And then at some point, the only difference that's going to be left is the picking. So if you want to learn about that and see, like, okay, what's the difference between a tea that is just buds and a tea that is a bud and two leaves that are processed in the same or very similar ways, that are probably like grown in the same area, maybe even on the same tea farm, then I think this comparison is a great one to make. And at the end of the day, even after you've finished the comparison and really focused on these teas and gotten everything you can out of them, you're still just left with two very pleasant teas to drink. So even when you're not necessarily in the mood for making these focused comparisons, you still have something that you can pleasantly enjoy on the side. Another of my personally favorite things about yellow tea, that like they don't make it so you need to absolutely focus on them 100% of the time. They can also just be your companion when you study, when you're up late at night and you want to drink some tea. That's where yellow tea comes in as your friend and helper. So good. Ooh. Decent amounts of astringency on this steep now. So maybe one thing I'd recommend, when you get this Mengding Huang Ya, don't steep it for as long as I did in this video. Keep the steep times a bit shorter, do more steeps. You're also going to get more out of the aroma that way. Like, it seems that bud heavy teas in general prefer slightly shorter steeping times. Whereas with this, the Mengding Huang Cha, I think you can probably go for almost as long as you want, honestly. It's a very forgiving tea. And one that just tastes really good, pleasant, and round. Ultimately, both of these teas have their own strength. I think they're different teas for different situations, and that's totally fine. So depending on what kind of situation you'd want a tea for, and you want to try yellow tea, both of these are a wonderful option. And if you like what I'm doing here with this yellow tea tasting, then please leave a like, subscribe to nannuoshan, leave a comment if you want to talk more about yellow tea. I'm always happy to answer questions or to just discuss. And hopefully we'll see each other again soon. Goodbye.